Hello, thank you for joining us today for this CREST presentation from Applied Risk, who will be talking about how to tackle OT security challenges in 2022. So before I hand over to your presenter, Jules, who will introduce himself, just to let you know that there will be a chance for you to ask any questions that you want to at the end of this presentation. So please feel free to type those into the question pane. There is a chat function as well, so please put them in there and we will get those questions asked. You do have Jules here today, so make sure you do that. So now I will pass over to you, Jules. Thank you.
All right, David, thanks very much. Yeah, good morning, afternoon, evening, everybody. At the moment, I'm in Malaysia, so for me, it's late afternoon. If you may hear a big bang today, then that is thunder that's currently developing behind me. So nothing serious to be concerned about. Yeah, so a little bit about myself. My name is Jules Vos. I am 35 years already in mainly OT and OT engineering, but also a bit in IT. And I'm already in OT security since 2005. So yeah, I have already quite a long history in OT and IT security. Next slide, Letitia. By the way, we have some issues with my laptop, and that's why Letitia, also from Applied Risk, is assisting me. Going to the next slides. A little bit about Applied Risk. We will not make it a commercial talk, but a little bit about us. We are a OT cybersecurity company, really a dedicated OT cybersecurity company with the roots in the OT. So most of our specialists have a OT background. Some have IT, but the vast majority has an OT engineering and cybersecurity background. We are active in many sectors. The ones here are the 12 sectors that we, some more, others a little bit less, but basically in all these 12 sectors, we have OT cybersecurity services. We are a vendor agnostic company, completely independent. Of course, we have some partnerships with some vendors, but basically we are fully independent. And also important to mention, since November last year, we are part of the Norwegian DNV group. Yeah, talking about us and our portfolio, basically there are four main areas we can identify. Yeah, first of all, that's the foundation. That's basically where we started about 10 years ago. We are using our ARM methodology, assess, remediate, and manage, to basically demonstrate the cycle, the life cycle that is absolutely key for, well, actually any project, but definitely also for cybersecurity projects. We provide services in basically the three elements of the ARM cycle. That is, first of all, the assess part, where we do risk assessments, we do pen testing, we do vulnerability scanning, we do design reviews. So a lot of services in the assess space. In the remediate space, we provide design. We do designs, complete designs. We run complete programs. We do partly or full implementations. Also implement the earlier mentioned tools, of which we have partnerships with some suppliers. And then last but not least, and extremely important, of course, is the management of the OT security. So things like developing together with customers procedures, policies, work instructions, training, and I will touch on that later on, incident response, and also we are every now and then called, in case of an OT security incident, we are called by our clients to support them in resolving the issues. So that's basically our foundation. We already do that for 10 years, and we are absolute specialists in that space. Next to that, research and innovation is extremely important for us. We want to understand the trends, and we want to anticipate on trends in cybersecurity. So we are an innovative company. We have our own lab, so we also do all kind of testing to identify vulnerabilities in systems. And also very important, we share and contribute to the cybersecurity community. Our Night Watch event is one of the important events that we do every year, where we just provide all kind of information about the current state of cybersecurity. We have a lot of speakers who have all kind of, in general, forward-looking topics to inform you all about what's going on in the OT cybersecurity space. As said, we are an innovative company, so we are continuously developing. We are living in a digitalizing world, so there's a lot going on. It's a very dynamic space. So in that space, we do a lot. Think about threat intelligence, think about architecture design, cloud developments. So yeah, we are innovating in that space. Last but not least, our tactics platform, which is a learning platform, which include all kind of services like our online training. We provide offensive trainings, OT cybersecurity essential trainings. So we have a whole portfolio of trainings that are all basically included in our tactics platform. Next, Leticia. As mentioned, we are a company that is always looking for trends. So we published in early December last year our kind of annual report, the architecting the next generation for OT security, which is really a forward-looking report. We try to identify the trends, try to get a better understanding what's going on and what is needed in the future, and that basically is all captured in this report that you can download. We provide the link there, and the report is based on quite an extensive a group of people that responded, about 1,000 people who are in IT and OT space, and it's giving quite a good understanding of what is going on and what is needed. Next to that, we did some analysis based on the outputs, based on the results, and we share these analysis now also in this presentation with you. Leticia. So the agenda for today is to discuss with you the main challenges in OT security for coming year, and actually also the years to come after 2022. The contradictions we see in approaching OT cybersecurity, and we try to stay as practical as possible, so also provide some recommendations and practical steps how to tackle the OT security challenges. And of course, as mentioned by Debbie, we have Q&A at the end of the session. All right, next slide, Leticia. So just to summarize what's being presented in the next slides, what are the trends and the challenges we see? Well, first of all, what came out of the research was that areas of concerns are nation-state attacks, and well, I think this is very relevant at this moment in time. The attack sophistication is on the rise. It's getting every time more and more complicated to detect attacks in time and to respond adequately to it. The response speed is also one of the things that is needed to. Sorry, my phone is ringing. So I switched my phone off, but the other one I didn't. So apologies. So the response speed is important because there's a lot going on, and response speed of course is important because incidents will happen, and you try to minimize the impact of incidents. So the faster you are, the less impact it has on your OT, on your production, or on your business. The digitalization is ongoing. Some people say data is the new oil. So everybody is digitalizing and optimizing the available data, and also in the OT. And very important, everything is connected with everything nowadays. So the supply chain protection is a big area of concern. And we come back on that later on, because also recently we have seen some major incidents in this space. Emerging technologies are the IT-OT SOC integration. As we all know, the IT-OT convergence is a topic. With the conversion, also the SOC integration and the continuous monitoring is an absolutely important topic. Cloud is already common in the IT, but cloud also has been introduced now as well in the OT, and it will be applied more and more. All kind of new technologies like the Internet of Things is also very relevant in the OT nowadays, and that means that the way we connect is changing, because IoT equipment in the OT basically directly connects into the cloud, and not according to the Purdue model anymore, through all the Purdue model layers. Blockchain is a topic on the rise, and artificial intelligence is definitely also an important technology, because of the rising sophistication. Artificial intelligence can help to basically be able to respond faster and to detect earlier all kind of potential incidents or events. What we also see is that there is a need for OT security people. It's an important topic, and we need more people, more boots on the ground, to be able to manage and introduce and maintain cybersecurity in the OT. And last but not least, the standards and the regulations are on the rise. One of the examples is the upcoming NIS2 directive in Europe. But actually that's globally. All countries, they basically introduce all kind of standards and regulations because people really understand the importance of OT, and especially in the critical infrastructure. All right, next slide. If we just to see these figures, then basically this is a wake-up call again, because from our research we found that 43% of the organizations only have or feel that they are ready in terms of cybersecurity, and 45% of the respondents they told that basically they are able to identify risks and to minimize the risk and cyber exploit and breaches in the OT environment. So when an incident happens, then they are able to basically respond adequately. This is quite a low number, because we should understand that we are basically at the stage that cybersecurity incidents will happen. Basically, we all know it's almost a daily news item that something or somebody is being hacked, and so it will happen. So and it will be shown further on in the presentation. We know it's a pain point. It's something that keeps management awake, but still we are not prepared at the right level. So that is an interesting finding, and it's kind of amazing. If you then look at, which is of course closely linked to that, if you look at the maturity of OT security risk management, then basically around 50, then we can conclude that about 50% of the organizations, they have an understanding of their cyber risks. They know what they have, so in terms of assets, and they are able to basically also identify the most important assets they have, call it the crown jewels or core business or however you want to call it. And in case of an incident, they kind of know what to do. But yeah, that also means that about half of the organization still don't know their risks. They don't know what their key assets are. And yeah, and they're not basically, indeed, as also shown in the previous slides, they're not prepared when an incident happens. They're not prepared on how to basically tackle the incident. Next slide. Just building on this, then our research found the following top 6 cybersecurity threats, according to the respondents, that may affect the critical operations. Basically, everybody is, and that's not a surprise, is concerned about remote access, and especially, of course, unauthorized remote access. Failure of the ICS, DCS, the IX is a big concern too. Also, the increased complexity and diversity, and the increased complexity has very much to do, of course, with the obsolescence of systems. I mean, at the end of the day, in most cases, the OT is a patchwork of systems. So managing all these different systems, different versions, different brands, different revisions is really a big challenge. Also, cloud is now gradually introduced, so we get kind of an hybrid environment. Not everything is on-prem anymore. Part is indeed in the cloud. And yeah, nowadays, because of the need for data, the need for optimization, the need for being able to remotely, for example, maintain, everything is basically connected to everything. So that increases the complexity of the OT tremendously. Yeah, and then there's of course the concern for mistakes and for insiders that basically do malicious or criminal actions to jeopardize the OT. Yeah, next slide, Letitia. What are then the top obstacles to maintain the cybersecurity level, the right level? Then, as mentioned, the obsolescence is one of the elements which is mentioned, and that is something that is basically is interesting, because we kind of all know that the Microsoft cycle, and it's mainly about, of course, the vulnerability for Microsoft or the Microsoft vulnerabilities that basically are key. We all know that Microsoft needs to be updated every 6-7 years, and that is now with all the Microsoft products in the OT also the case for OT systems. And we also know that there is also a compatibility that may be relevant when we do an update. So maybe also in the controllers, something needs to be updated as well when we do Microsoft updates. That means that management has to basically have budget to do these upgrades every 6-7 years. But we're still kind of in the same mode as we were 10 years ago, 15 years ago, that control systems last 15-20 years. And you hardly have to touch them. but that time is over. And still, yeah, it's difficult for organizations apparently, and I've seen that in my own experience and practice as well. It's difficult for companies to basically understand that they have to upgrade and update their control systems every 6 years, and that they need budget for that. They have to reserve budget for that. So yeah, that is, I think, definitely a learning again from this research. And yeah, that is an action organizations have to take. Yeah, next to that, of course, when you go back to the previous slide, Leticia, the remote work during operations and maintenance, and the limited cybersecurity culture is also an important finding, and especially the limited cybersecurity culture among vendors, suppliers, contractors, but actually it's also, of course, within companies itself is an issue. And I have examples of that as well. It was, I think, some 2 or 3 years ago, when I was working for a Fortune 500 company, and was doing all kind of interaction with vendors. And yeah, one of the vendors was a metering vendor. They basically supply products to all major oil companies. In 2019, they hadn't even thought, although they have a huge installed base in oil and gas, they hadn't even thought of cybersecurity services and the inclusion of cybersecurity in their delivery at all. So they were completely blank in this space. And that is concerning. That's very concerning that even in 2019, for critical OT systems, that cybersecurity was in any way wasn't in any way included in their service offerings. So that's a major concern. And as said, remote work is important. Yeah, in these COVID times and yeah, in general, because remote services are more and more important, because we have struggles in general on all sides with people availability. So a lot remote services are taking place basically to offload the people on site. And sometimes it's very urgent, so remote connections are being offered, but not properly secured. So that definitely is an issue, is a topic that needs a lot of attention. All right, next slide. So the main pain points that can be identified for managing OT security is, as mentioned, the rise of sophisticated attacks. And sophistication means that we have to do something to be able to detect these more sophisticated attacks in time, and that we also should be able to respond adequately. And as said, the overall complexity due to digitalization, everything is connected to everything, and basically the patchwork of systems in the OT, on-prem, off-prem, is absolutely a pain point for OT people. In terms of defenses in people, process, technology, well, then the lack of understanding of the risk is something that really needs a lot of attention, both, by the way, at shop floor as well as at management level. The process, a lot is still happening manually. Yeah, and there is so much evidence that manual processes really are not sustainable. So that needs a lot of attention to automate these cybersecurity management processes as much as possible. And as earlier mentioned, there's lack of enabling technologies, which basically also links to the manual processes item I mentioned. There's lack of enabling technologies in the OT and in OT networks to enable a quick identification and a fast response to events happening. Next slide. Well, if you want to introduce and implement cybersecurity in your organization, then of course it's very important who is leading both a project, a initiative, as well as the basically the governance structure and the management and maintenance of your cybersecurity landscape. And that also includes, of course, as it is very dynamic, the continuous basically update and upgrade of your cybersecurity level. So what we see from our research is that basically 42% is in 42% of the cases, it is the OT security or the OT engineering department who is in the lead for OT cybersecurity. In 39%, it's the IT security function, and that can be a CISO or that can be the IT security head. And in 16% of the cases, it's the risk and compliance department who is in charge. So we can see it's scattered. There is no clear responsibility and accountability. There's no industry-wide accepted governance model. But it's very important to have their absolute clarity. And what is most important is that, and start with basically the IT and the OT department just collaborating. It's a shared responsibility, and they need each other to be successful. In order to do that basically you have to both top down. From management, you have to have endorsement and enforcement, as well as bottom up. You have to have the skilled people. There should be understanding of cybersecurity and cybersecurity risks at the shop floor, as well as at the supervisor and OT management level. Yeah, that's absolutely key, this top-down and bottom-up approach, and the collaboration between basically IT and OT departments and functions. What is most important, and that's why the enforcement is so important, is that cybersecurity shall be embedded in the daily practice. It is not optional. It shall never be optional. It is something that is a must do. Both in technology, in terms of technology, and in terms of behavior. So it must be embedded in the daily practice, as is, for example, in the oil and gas and in the chemical world. Safety is a must do. Cybersecurity isn't any different. We already touched a little bit on this, and that is how well are we prepared? And basically, from our research, we've seen that 52% of the organizations they have a incident response plan and a dedicated team to be able to immediately respond when an event or an incident is happening. Knowing that incidents are inevitable, yeah, this is still a low figure, and we really need to do a lot to be better prepared. Only 48% of the organizations, this 52% have a response plan. 23% of the organizations do not have a plan at all. 58% of the organizations do not an annual incident simulation. So that means that it's not clear if they have an organization in place, but it's not clear if the organization is really well prepared and is capable and understands what to do in case of an incident. And as said, only 43%, and this is in the previous slides, only 43% of the organizations, they claim that they are ready. And of course, being able to adequately respond to incidents is, yeah, a very important part of that readiness. All right, next slide. So from our research, we also like to focus a little bit more on three specific areas, and the first one is the supply chain risks. Basically, what supply chain, we all know is very important, and if you just keep the recent developments in mind, we all know about the Colonial Pipeline. That's a well-known, and SolarWinds. But recently we've had another few, quite shocking supply chain incidents. Just very recent, there was this Toyota, which had an issue with one of their suppliers of, I think, plastics and some other parts, which basically resulted in 1 day total production stop at their 14 domestic plants in Japan. So that's a major impact, and yeah, 13,000 cars, the production of 13,000 cars was impacted because of that. Last year in the Netherlands, I'm Dutch, so cheese is important for us. And we had this issue with a logistic supplier of cheese to major, or actually the biggest, Dutch supermarkets. As with the Toyota supplier, also one of these supermarkets, they had a just-in-time practice. And yeah, they ran into trouble, which resulted in several days, I think close to almost a week, that there were issues with the supply to this one supermarket of cheese, and yeah, basically they were all sold out. Another recent example is in Germany, where 11 oil and fuel terminals were hit by ransomware, and they had a limited capacity for several days because of that. So there are so many examples of the supply chain showing how important supply chain is. And if you take that into consideration and you look at basically the results of our research, then basically we see that 39% of the organizations is basically paying significant attention to to the supply chain cyber security risks. So they at least have once a year an audit, and they understand their basically the cybersecurity supply chain risks and vulnerabilities. 22% basically has no idea and isn't doing anything and paying any attention. So that is alarming in this heavily interconnected world we are currently living in. Okay, next slide, Leticia. So yeah, the basic question: does your organization take the following steps to secure your supply chain? Having cybersecurity included in the contracts, 49%. Doing regular audits is not basically implemented. Due diligence when basically new suppliers are being contracted is only 27%. So the care of basically the supply chain cybersecurity, the understanding of the risk is too low, and it requires really a lot of attention. Next slide, Leticia. next to the supply chain cybersecurity, we earlier already touched upon the enabling technologies, which are lacking behind. And with the increased attack sophistication and basically the issues that we all know we have with manual processes when it comes to cybersecurity, the need for continuous monitoring. If we want to respond fast, then we need to have continuous monitoring. Then, for example, having a SOC, and regardless if it is an IT/OT combined SOC or if there is a separate SOC in the OT, multiple forms of monitoring the status of networks, of equipment is crucial. And of course, if we would use a SOC, then basically that requires all kind of technologies as well to be able to filter all the data to useful information the team can take action on. That requires automation. That requires the introduction of artificial intelligence, of machine learning, of orchestration. And we are terribly lacking behind. Well, on one hand, the attack sophistication is on the rise, and the number of attacks is on the rise, and we're now in a state where there is a lot of geopolitical tension. Still, this the use of enabling technologies to be able to monitor continuously is lacking behind. Next slide. What is interesting as well is that from the research we see that the focus is still very much on known technologies, and they are important. Things like patch management, secure remote access, having the right firewalls, and of course configured as well, configured the right way is important. These are basics. Also your asset inventory. These are basics. These are very important. But people, although the threat landscape is changing rapidly, they still have a huge focus on these basics. If we really want to make a next step to fight the attack sophistication and the increasing the changing threat landscape, then the network monitoring and threat detection and cloud services, for example, is something that requires much more focus. And from our research, we see that it doesn't have that much focus yet. The interesting bit there as well is that cloud is by IT perceived and seen as a solution for improved security, whereas that perception is not within the OT. So people are still very reluctant to go to the cloud. So that's an interesting difference between the IT and OT. But it is a fact that that cloud services can definitely help to better manage and to improve your cybersecurity posture. Next slide. We all actually know that we are lacking OT cybersecurity people. There is basically gaps in every organization. It is still a kind of a rare skill set that people on one hand understand the OT production, understand engineering, and on the other side also have a good understanding of cybersecurity. So we are in need of people, and so we should really focus on training people and getting more skilled people on board. And that is definitely important. because, yeah, as earlier mentioned, cybersecurity is here to stay, and it is part of it is already, and it definitely must be part of our daily practice. It's not optional anymore. It's not optional because the risks are on the rise. The threat landscape is changing every day, and next to that, there is a lot of regulation. Take, for example, the NIS directive in Europe. But yeah, in America, it's exactly the same as earlier mentioned in other countries too. Regulations require significant cybersecurity steps in many organizations. So yeah, there is no way around. We really should increase our headcount, and that is recognized by the respondents as well. And the expectation is that the number of people in organizations in OT security will double the next 2 to 4 years. So just with all the results from the research, what basically are our recommendations? Yeah, first of all, we touched upon IT-OT convergence. This basically cross-functional approach is extremely important. IT and OT teams should really team up, share their knowledge and their experience, and it should be really one cybersecurity organization that basically is managing both the IT and OT cybersecurity sides. There is a shared interest, and generally, both in the IT are business critical systems, and definitely in the OT are many business critical systems. And most organizations really make the money with the OT. So that's why they are linked together. We've seen that, for example, in the Colonial Pipeline. At the end of the day, it was not an OT incident, but basically because of IT issues, an IT ransomware incident, the OT side, the production side also stopped. So they must team up. We mentioned the OT security skill pool. Yeah, we just need more people in our organizations to run projects, to manage OT cybersecurity, to continuously improve, and to, for example, man the monitoring or function, or, for example, a cyber defense function. We just need people, and there are still organizations that think that they can do it with 1, 2, or 3 persons. That is impossible. The successful organizations we've seen, they all have significant teams to basically implement and manage cybersecurity. As said, it's here to stay. So we should embed it in our, and we shall embed it in our daily practice. So yeah, we just need the people. Next slide. We will get incidents. It's inevitable. So we must be prepared. So having an incident response plan and training the people of the CSIRT or of your cyber defense team is a must do in order to be prepared. We must pay much more attention to our supply chain. We see it. I mean, almost daily we get these incident reports. So yeah, it is something both in terms of suppliers when we are part of a bigger supply chain, as well as when we have suppliers that supply products to us. We must be much more vigilant when it comes to cybersecurity, and understand our risks, and really embed that in our daily practice with suppliers as well. Risk assessments are key. you must continuously monitor a risk and the risk level and your basically your the state of your OT. Many organizations have a management of change, but yeah, people make mistakes, and basically in every scan you do, or for example firewalls, you will find certain issues regardless of a management of change. People make mistakes or do a test and forget to take away any statement or whatever. Human errors, they are happening, they are taking place regardless of the processes we have. So we must continuously do vulnerability scans, and we must do risk assessments to test if we still are at the right level to manage risks to basically what is acceptable in our organization. The OT convergence we spoke about. It is complicated, but it's really a must do. And last but not least, yeah, the enabling technologies, we touched upon that. And really important is things like zero trust, which basically, of course, zero trust means that we just don't give access to anybody unless we trust that identity. By the way, that can be a human identity, but for example, an IoT device is also an identity. So we must introduce the zero trust to be fully in control. And with zero trust comes also monitoring. So if there are devices, unknown devices, ROC devices that are being connected to a network, then we need to know. The anomalies on networks, we need to know. We need to understand, and we need to know if people try to get access by multiple attempts to a host, to a server. So all this information is essential. Identity and access management is inevitable. In general, in the OT, service accounts are not well managed. Admin accounts are not well managed. So with that, also privileged access is not well managed, and many of the incidents that are happening are based also on lateral movement, and that is because identity and access management is not well managed. So that needs a lot more attention. And with the increasing complexity, because part is on-prem, part is off-prem, so yeah, the identity and access management becomes also more complicated. We need to follow an architecture approach in order to be able to properly design and manage that. So going for architecture approach, architecture design is key as well to get it to a proper implemented identity and access management and privileged access management design. All right, I think, yeah, so already as mentioned, please download our report. All the information that and much more that was provided today is in that report. So feel free to register yourself and to download it from our website.
Lovely, thank you. Oh, that's great. Thank you so much, Jules, for that presentation. Very, very interesting. And I think that's given people a good in-depth knowledge of OT there, definitely. So this is your opportunity to, obviously, you have got Jules here to answer any of your questions. So please feel free to pop those into the question pane at the moment. If you do have any questions afterwards, you can see that there's a couple of email addresses on the screen that you can obviously get in touch with someone at Applied Risk. You can also, you'll all have my email address, so please feel free to pop that through to me, and I can get that over to Jules and anyone at Applied Risk to get back to you. Also, shortly after this webinar, I will be sending out some information for you so that you can contact them directly, and just a bit of a further info for you there. As Jules said, please do feel free to go and download that report as well. So having a look, we don't seem to have any questions. Now that could be because I think you've covered everything.
Well, at least this, I don't think so. My slides were only 25 slides, and our report is 34 pages. So there is a lot to be asked.
Yeah, exactly. And as I say that, do you know what? Every time I always say there's no questions, one always pops into the screen.
Okay.
You have one to ask you. So what is more important, machine identities or human identities?
Machine identities, I think both are very important. And when you talk about machine identities, for example, an IoT device, as mentioned, has an identity that's on the rise, and the number of IoT devices is rising quickly. So it will overtake very quickly the number of human identities in an organization. So yeah, both are very important, and in the future, maybe indeed the machine or device identity will become much more important. And we all know, and we have a lot of examples of, for example, the webcams that are being used for botnet. And so if you have to build botnets and to do denial of service attacks. So yeah, properly securing your devices is extremely important. I hope this answers the question.
Yes, as Jules said, if there's anything that you want to add to that question, please type it into the question pane, and we can obviously get that answered for you. So as I say, if you do, so yes, it did answer that question, so that's brilliant. So thank you very much. So we have another question that's come in. What is ideal SOC architecture? So separate or common SOCs for IT and OT, or interconnected?
Yeah, that's an interesting question. Of course, every organization has to decide for themselves what is what is best for them. I tend to, and I have experience as well with shared SOCs. I would tend to go there, because then you have one cyber defense team, you have cross learning between the IT and the OT people. They work together. There must be, by the way, in such a SOC, there must be OT people with understanding. Even OT incidents happen, really understand the details, and basically are able just to quickly take actions and involve, of course, sites where the incident happened. But yeah, the cross learning, in my opinion, is really important. So I would tend to have a preference for a combined IT OT. Also, not to duplicate all kind of functions, similar functions in the organization. This duplication generally doesn't help. So yeah.
That's great. Thank you very much. So again, hopefully that's answered all your question. And if you do have any further questions, then you can obviously pop them over or get in contact with Applied Risk directly.
Yeah. So Debbie, I just see in this slide that my name is missing. So that is J Vos, VOS at appliedrisk.com. Then if people remember that, then please send me an email if they have any questions.
Excellent. What I'll do as well, Jules, I will pop that email in the email that I send out to everyone, so they can contact it directly. So that will be great. Thank you. So it looks like we haven't got any other questions, it only goes without saying that thank you so much, Jules, for doing that presentation today. Really interesting. I'm sure all the attendees on here found that interesting as well. And as I say, we will be sending out some further information, and thank you for everybody that's attended today. And I will just pass over to Jules to just say a last couple of words. But before I do that, just had a really nice comment come in saying another great talk. Thank you. So,
Thanks very much.
so fantastic. So, yes, I'll just pass over to you, Jules, to say a last couple of words to everyone.
Yeah, thanks everybody. Thanks Debbie for organizing, and thanks everybody for attending and listening. So yeah, the only thing I can say, first of all, stay safe and stay secure, and really hope to hear back from you. And again, feel free to ask any questions. We're there to support you. Thanks a lot.
That is fantastic. Thank you so much. And yes, everyone else, have a good rest of the day. Take care.